tarde. Que é a Ju? É a Ju.
Yes, estou respondendo alguém também. Quem falou boa tarde? Acho que foi Guilherme.
Marta.
Oi, Ju.
I don't know everybody. So welcome. Welcome here and nice to meet you.
Yes.
Today I'm outside the house because it's hot.
Yes.
So I'd like.
Galera, já estamos ao vivo pelo YouTube, tá bom?
Okay, so I'm going to start, okay?
Ok, awesome.
Hi guys, I'm Fabiana, I'm from Avaré. Everybody in the group calls me Fabi, so you can call me Fabi too. And I'm here to show Juliana Pereira, and she is going to tell us about everything she lives there in London. She studies contemporary arts, and I really like art.
Tá travando.
Pelo YouTube tá travada.
No, I think Fabi have a problem your smartphone. Okay, Fabi.
Do you have
can
any
hear me?
problem?
Yes,
Yes.
I think your screen, please.
I have no idea what happened because I didn't touch anything.
Okay, no problem.
It was just the internet, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was telling that I would like to ask Julia to introduce yourself, but personally, about how old are you, things like that. How long have you been living in London?
Sure.
If you are Brazilian or not.
Okay.
How did you meet Leticia? Because Leticia is our volunteer too, and she's helping us a lot and doing a very great job. So tell us, please, about you.
Well, firstly, I'm so happy to be here. So thank you for the opportunity. And I'm very happy to also know that Leticia is being of good help. She is amazing. We are very good friends. So my name is Julia, but I go by Ju most of the time as a nickname. And I am now 21 years old. I am Brazilian, but I moved to the UK when I was 10 to 11. So I was just about turning 11 when I arrived here. I had been here on holiday previously because my mum, she is also from Brazil, but she moved to the UK in 2005. So she already had a place and I would come visit her. And when I turned 11, I said I really wanted to live here. So I moved to London and I did normal secondary school. The age I arrived here was to go into year 7 in secondary school. And I, after that, did sixth form, which is essentially collegial, but you specialize, you only do 4 subjects, and those subjects are of quite intense material, and you specialize in that, and they lead you to university. So when I turned 18, I moved to Edinburgh in Scotland. I love London, it's a great city, but it's too busy. and I don't like crowded spaces. It's a very large city. And so I traveled around all over the UK looking for universities to go to. There are so many options. Every city has at least 3 universities.
Não tô entendendo nada que ela tá falando, ela tá falando inglês. Já. É de inglês.
Can you hear? Do you understand everything?
Yeah, you can continue. I'm just going to speak Portuguese to contextualize for him, okay?
Okay.
Boa tarde aí para quem entrou, gente. Essa é uma chamada que vai ser majoritariamente em inglês para a gente conseguir praticar, tá bom? Mas se vocês quiserem ir perguntando também no chat, algumas coisas a gente pode ir traduzindo para vocês, ou pelo grupo do WhatsApp do Projes, tá bom? Mora na Inglaterra e ela vai contar pra gente um pouco da experiência dela, ok? Pode continuar, Júlia.
Okay, thank you. So in 2017, I decided to move to Edinburgh, as I said, and I started going to university there. As mentioned, Edinburgh is a Russell Group university, and we'll get into more questions about that later. But, I first did a course in classic art, and as much as I love art, it was quite outdated and very old school, and I didn't like it. My practice is generally contemporary, and so I took a year out, and in order to decide which course I wanted to do, I traveled everywhere as I could. I would work, save money, and travel. And I've got lots of stories about that too. And then I came back to university September 2019. And now I study contemporary art, and I am going into the 2nd year.
Okay, thank you for explaining everything.
No.
And now tell us, it was a little bit difficult to choose what you really would like to take at university. So tell us, why did you choose this course?
Okay.
And tell us about the course right now, for example, about the grades, about the subjects, about the teachers. In this moment, with the COVID-19 pandemic, what are you doing right now?
Okay.
How are your teachers facing this situation? How are the students facing this situation there in London? Because here in Brazil, in the beginning it was a big mess, but we now it is okay, but everybody is a little bit lost yet. So I think it's a new thing for everybody, and something very different for everybody. So tell us about all this situation there for us, okay?
Okay. So firstly, in terms of what led me to choose this course was a lot of readings that I had already done personally. So I'm a real bookworm. I love to read, and I started to look for subjects that would include my personal readings. And I am a lot into gender theory, a lot into cultural studies, visual culture, other subjects. And I then found this course, the contemporary course, which is an umbrella term for small practices that usually respond to current situations. So we know gender theory is a big thing right now. It's only recent that we started accepting different titles and accepting different identities that people may identify as. And so it is a hot topic essentially, and also quite feminist along those studies. And also the reason for choosing the University of Edinburgh specifically is that because they hold an amazing social anthropology department. And social anthropology is the study of culture, the study of cultural behavior. And that was very inspirational. And so I set all my goals to get into that uni so I could have access to all the resources they have. As I said before about the Russell Group, what it means is that it is ranked amongst one of the best universities in the UK. I also would like to clarify, I study in Edinburgh in Scotland, so the situation in terms of COVID would be different in Scotland than it is in England, in London. We have different governments, even though we are part of the UK. And so I worked really hard. I did all my exams and I got into there. And now I do practices such as art theory, where I touch all the subjects I've mentioned. And also I do the practical side of art, which is creating. My favorite medium is photography. I absolutely love photography. Nothing can take that away from me. And I am very grateful to have the space to do that and to practice the subject. I also do a little bit of analog photography, so not digital. And sometimes I go into installations, so essentially sculptures, creating sculptures, and we have the process of critically sharing our opinions in a group. We have discussion panels regarding the concepts that we choose. We have the lectures that universities normally have. And it's great fun. It is very hard, but it's great fun. And I do something that it satisfies me a lot. And regarding COVID, what is happening at the moment is the University of Edinburgh will be solely remotely classes until December. So we will not attend any physical classes, which can cause a little bit of complications regarding the practical side, because if you don't have space at home, if you don't have, a safe space to produce, how are you meant to develop your artwork? And so we have been discussing to have all the theory this semester, and then from January to May for semester 2, we'll have the practical side, and hopefully we will be able to go back into our studio and back into university. It has been very difficult to maintain in contact with all of my tutors. I have 6 subjects in total, so it is hard work, and they don't always respond to my emails. There's a lot of miscommunication, but we are being as positive as possible and hoping that we can soon practice our own artistic skills with a little bit more freedom, especially because it's impossible to do group work over Zoom or digitally. It's very hard. How do you collaborate with people in the physical aspect? So that's what has been going on.
Pretty nice. I really loved to listen to everything. And you have something in common with my sister because she likes photography too.
Amazing.
And I would like to ask you if you prefer painting, drawing, things like that, but you answered before. Well, guys, I want to give you a little free time to practice English too. Do you have any questions to Julia, please? If you want to ask something, because I have a lot of questions. I always have a lot of questions because I'm so curious,
I have one question for Julia regarding photography. When did you start to like to photograph, and what kind of things do you like to photograph, and how does the college knowledge and the teachers, what did they teach you about this, that made you like improve your photography, or did it change something after you learned that?
Okay, so I started photography when I was 14. I got a camera for my birthday, and at that time I would do it, as we call it, commercially. So purely for events or portrait photography. And I was a huge newbie. I had just started, had no idea what I was doing, but I went for it. And so I started essentially my own business in that. And it was really great, but I was very young. And I then, for my GCSEs, which is the General Certificate of Secondary Education, that's when you finish your secondary school, I chose to have one of my modules as photography. But it was more the conceptual side of it, not things that you could monetize and sell. It wasn't about the manual aspect of taking pictures. It was more about the ideas and the creative process you've had. So I had a very nice balance that outside of school, I would practice commercial art and, commercial photography. And inside school, I did the more photographic art, which also you start to learn how to develop and manipulate images in Photoshop and so forth. When it came to my sixth form, I also chose photography and I chose art as well, 2 different subjects, but same idea. Also conceptual contemporary practice. They would never teach me about the camera and more about what I was trying to portray, what was my interest, research regarding art, critics, and so forth. And then it was when I started to distance from my commercial practice. I had already been doing my commercial business for 4 years, and I was getting a little tired. And also with sixth form, it was a lot of work. It was way too busy to work aside and do my A-levels, which is the certificate for the sixth form. And going into university, I still feel the artistic side being the strength, but now we learn a little more about the manual. So it's really nice to have more grounding, more understanding of how to operate different cameras, different lenses, the importance of light in photography. That's what photography is just reflections. So to have that, it's very nice. It feels that I'm doing something right. And it changed my practice in a way that I think as I get older, my interests are being way more established. I already know what my branding is. We sort of call that. I know I usually have a line of creation and I'm always on the same line. It does extend to different subjects, but there's a clear pattern of my interests. And so I feel like understanding my camera better, I'm able to portray that at a better quality, at a good professional level. And I am happy to share what I do, but I call it a little intense. I don't always have the chance of sharing it with my family, for example, because it is a very liberal practice. So I study the relationship between the female body and society and how we are portrayed as women. I speak for women because I identify as one. And I then developed that into little projects. And so there's a lot of nudity, there's a lot of liberation and almost activism surrounding what I create. So that's it.
Wow, pretty
How
nice.
nice, how nice. If you want, you can share your screen and show us some picture
Would you guys
yeah, you can.
Yes, I would say
I
the same
enable
thing.
you to do that.
Okay, 1 second. Oh, this is very exciting. It's the first time I'm doing something like this.
Be free. Be
I
happy.
won't share anything, I'll tell you that.
If you prefer, you can send on WhatsApp group after.
Oh, perfect. I'll do that. I'll do that because I don't have it open. I might have a few.
Yes, if it's easier for you, you can send it for us later. Or if you have like an Instagram or a website with your pictures, I think everyone will be very pleased to see your pictures.
I appreciate
You can
that.
share with us because we can help you to distribute things like that.
Oh, thank you.
Marketing.
Appreciate that.
And
So
I think that's
I
nice.
got it. I found it. I can show it quickly now. I can perhaps show.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is my favorite piece. It's called Touch, and it's talking about consent, what it means to.
I don't think that you're presenting the screen for us. You have to put in share screen here at Zoom, okay? Oh yeah, now you're seeing it.
So I'll show you this one, and then I'll send more photos later. But this is part of a series called Touch, and it's exploring our relationship with consent, what it means to consent to anything, especially to others touching us. And when I speak about having an interest in cultural behavior, the reason why I say that is because, for example, in this project, I am talking about how the relationship I've had with my body changed as I moved countries. Here, it is quite sad to say, but here it's more respected. I don't feel in danger no matter what the clothes I wear, and I'm happy, I'm always free to do whatever I want. Whereas unfortunately, growing up in Brazil, you're always at risk. My family was always very protective, and I felt like that limited my development, my identity development, because we were always so afraid and so scared of for my safety or any female safety. In my artwork is not to say that men don't experience the same thing. I just don't speak for men because I'm not one, and I haven't had the opportunity to dive deeper into research to understand male experience regarding touch, for example. I really, really like this image. I think I'm very proud of it. It has the power to show a human body without sexualizing it, without putting it in a context that objectifies our bodies. It's just purely beautiful as it is. It gives you a sense how nice affection, if consensual, is beautiful, and it's amazing to connect to other human beings. And so that is my favorite, and that's it.
Very nice. And tell us more about that. About how do you think that your art and your opinion can impact other people? Because nowadays here in Brazil and worldwide, we are talking a lot about gender equality and about how we respect each other and each other's customs and culture. And how do you think like your art and your work can impact and bring more understanding about?
I am a firm believer of starting conversations as such. I think a lot of the times we tend to avoid touching the subjects that may hurt us or may have been harmful. And there is a lot of taboo, a lot of anxiety surrounding such topics. And I think art is a beautiful platform, despite the medium. No matter if it's a photograph, a painting, a video, a song, it doesn't matter. Art in itself, it's a beautiful platform to start those conversations. I I also write poetry, and I don't always publish it, or when I do, I don't get as much attention as I do for the images. And I think that's because a topic, you have a choice to read it or not. When you see an image, once you have seen it, you already seen it, and you can't help but think about it, especially if it's quite shocking. I have more shocking images, things that are they lean more towards the activist side of trying to be aggressive towards something I feel strongly about. But most of the time they are censored as well. So I think that's the importance of what I'm creating. It's making people question, why are nipples being censored? Why is our body being censored? And why is that it is an argument at all? You know, we should just respect one another, end off. And I don't think that unless it's through art, there's no easier or gentle way to talk about it.
Okay, let me ask you something. Here in Brazil, I think that in the whole world, women suffer a little bit with the ideal body, you know. So how do you choose the bodies to take to do your job? And what do you think? What do you tell us about this kind of thing, about the ideal body, ideal female body? And I imagine that your art impacts the self-esteem, the women self-esteem, and I like it so much. I think it's very interesting. It's very rich, you know. So tell us about that.
Body image is something that really hits home, especially having grown up half of my life in Brazil. We are all taught about the ideal body, as you said, and not only taught, we're also almost imposed it. So women are all expected to shave most of the time. You know, we're expected to look a certain way, have a certain hair. And as I was growing up, always try to combat that. I always try to go against it. I would do it quite extremely, actually, just to piss off my family, excuse the language, but in a form of showing them that there are other ways of existing rather than being oppressed into an idea. And my work doesn't always talk about it because I don't feel like I am yet qualified enough. I think there are way more deeper aspects into our psychological behavior when it comes to our relationships with our bodies. But on a surface level, what I do with my work is I try to be as inclusive as possible. I don't gender people. It's a body and not specifically a female or a male or an intersex or a transgender person. I don't look at that. I look at the body, the functioning of the body. And there is almost a spiritual side to it, which I try to always speak to all my models on how the gratitude we have for a body is so important. For us being able to function and to use our bodies, it's already a huge privilege in itself. And so I distance from the idea of focusing in the body image because I feel like that is distracting to the wholesome message I'm trying to portray, the importance of soul to soul idea. And it's quite interesting because when I speak about it here in the UK, people think I'm too intense. We are not, I guess it's my Brazilian blood to be so passionate and so, I don't know how to put it, but so fiery about the subject. And this is what I then tend to go on to. And I think as well, given the circumstances we are having right now with the Black Lives Matter protest and a lot of political movements happening, I am working every time more into also being an ally of anti-racism, and how can I portray that into my artwork? So be able to be as inclusive as possible, not only in body shapes, but skin color, and as I said as well, about gender. So
Wow, I'd like to say that that's incredible, because your accent is wonderful.
thank you.
I can understand that very good, and you are very articulated.
Thank you.
Now, I'd like to ask you something. It's not about your course or your art, but it's about something about the university. I'd like to know if in your university you have support, psychological support, like counseling, for example, because we have already known that in United States there are some counseling, because, for example, I think in the series 13 Reasons Why, for example, I watched it, and there was a counseling. What about in your university? Do you have a counseling?
I am very grateful to say that every university in the UK has what they call a disability support system. So I love that name, first of all, because it doesn't exclude anybody, and it gives the name disability less bad connotations. I think we're so afraid of saying we are disabled. Let's say, hence you may have a mental illness or an invisible disability, and we are often very scared of saying that. So I really appreciate the name. It shows that it's okay to be who you are, regardless of any condition you may have. I personally have experienced depression and anxiety, and so I use those services. And what it is essentially a private service, but because I am funded by the UK government, they also pay for my mental health assistance, adjustment. I think that's the best word. They provide me with as many adjustments as I need. And so I have what is called a mental health mentor. And as I said, it's paid for. And with her, we go through all my work. We talk about things that may be causing anxiety in that week and how to eliminate or work on those issues. And it's a huge department. It's available to everybody in the university. You have to be diagnosed with something in order to access it. Otherwise, it would overwhelm the system. They wouldn't be able to provide for everybody. They need to classify what is it that you have and what adjustments you need, and see if you're eligible for them. And since I am, that's what I do. I have also done counseling with the university. I was given 6 free sessions, and that was really nice. It was normal, they call it CBT practice, so I can't quite remember what it stands for, but it's a method of psychotherapy, and it's very nice to have an institution like my university that provides the support for all students.
Wow, that's brilliant. Is there anyone who would like to ask something? Please. No? So I have a question. Julia, Leticia told us a little bit that you had a camp in, I don't remember right now.
Can you repeat that again? Sorry, it froze a little bit.
I remember that Leticia told us that you had a camp, but I don't remember where right now.
We went to Morocco.
Morocco, yes.
Yes.
So tell us about this camping.
We went on a yoga surfing camp, and it was an amazing opportunity and experience. So it was when I was taking a year out of university, when I was doing my, what they call a gap year. And I hadn't even properly met Letitia then. We would only talk through text. We were friends of a friend. We weren't really friends. And one day I was in Portugal, I was already traveling, and she messaged me and said, "Take me with you." And I was like, let's do this. Let's go somewhere together. And we met at the airport and we flew to Morocco for that trip. We went to Agadir. So that's where the beaches are. And it was an amazing opportunity to immerse myself into the Moroccan culture, into a little more understanding of the Islamic religion and practices. Also, absolutely love the food. I'm a huge foodie. I'm always eating. So that was a really important thing for me. Everything very fresh, and compared to the UK, the weather there was beautiful. It was roughly 30 degrees every day and that was in October. So pretty good for the autumn season. That's a very hot temperature for us. And I had never surfed before, so it was really fun to go surfing and wake up every day at 6 a.m. to do yoga. And that's how I got to know Letitia. So we became really good friends in the week we traveled. And after the camp, after feeling very spiritual and relieved, we traveled to Marrakesh as well. That was crazy, pure chaos, very, very busy. But architecture is insane, very nice, beautiful places. And then after that, we went to Casablanca. So we visited 3 cities in Morocco. And then I flew back to Scotland and she flew to London.
Okay, nice too. Was it expensive to do this camping?
The camp itself was a little bit more pricey because it had yoga and surfing included. We had as many practices as we wanted, and it was full board. Full board meaning all the food you can eat. So you have everything included into the package. Because of that, it was slightly more expensive than average. However, the flights were very cheap. It's mind-blowing. To travel in Europe can be so cheap, especially when you're going off season. And so the whole trip was fairly a good price. I was only 19 and I managed to afford it by myself. So I think that speaks a lot to the opportunities provided for us here, is that from the age of 18, I don't need to depend on my parents financially, and I can do and travel as much as I want.
Okay, and I'd like to know if you like to take pictures of landscape too. Do you like to take, for example, nano pictures?
I guess when I am only practicing, I do. When I am just doing test drives and figuring out how to function a camera. But for my personal practice, not much. I usually would, during my trip, I did a short film more about my relationship with the trip, my relationship with the Moroccan land, the food. So everything in my work is very touchy and some things that I'm attached to. It's a big reflection, but I do love looking at nano photography, and I am a huge appreciative of all forms and landscape as well.
Okay. What is the typical to do there in the Islamic religion?
Well, they pray 5 times a day. So we would always hear the mosque bell go on, and there would be public prayer, and people stop everything they're doing. They would stop everything they were doing and wash their hands, wash their feet, get the mat out, and then pray for how long the period was. It did vary depending on the area. Sometimes you could tell the prayer would go for half an hour, which was very loud and very long. Obviously, as we don't practice the religion, we just would stay quiet, step aside, and sometimes it would only be 5 minutes. So it depended on the area. And after that, they put the mat away and carry on doing whatever they were doing.
Interesting. Do you have religious support at university?
Yes. The UK it's a open country to all religions and all practices. However, the predominant religion within the royal family is the Anglican Church. So usually religious centers will have the title of an Anglican church, will speak on that behalf, but then it says welcome to all. And so that's how it is at the university. And also at university, we have societies. They are not exactly what we call in Brazil as coletivos, but
Community, maybe community
it's
or
a
not.
similar thing. You need a minimum of 5 people to start one. So not necessarily community either, because it's small groups, but it is really nice, and you can create whichever you want and join how many you want, as long as it doesn't overlap your planner, your schedule. And I have seen that there are societies for every possible religion. At least the mainstream religions, there are support centers for that. In Edinburgh, there is also a mosque. There are many churches of different kinds, different denominations. There are Buddhist centers, spiritual centers, and so forth. So and Hindu centers as well. So it's open to all.
Pretty nice. I like to ask those things, to compare with our universities here.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we are going to put this on live, for example. So maybe it's a good reflection to the own of the universities here, and to the public service to look at those and maybe do the same.
Mm-hmm.
What about the transportation? What about the students have helping with the transportation? Are there public transportation or not?
So it's different in every region. It really depends where you're from in the UK. Some places give free transportation to students and some don't. London being England's capital, it's not free. It's owned by a private company. It is subsidized by the government, so costs are cheaper than you would be to travel with a private company, but you still have to pay for it. So in London, we have all sorts of transports, from buses, a really nice tube station system, underground, as we call it here. We've got different sort of trains and trams and cable cars. There's everything. In Edinburgh, it does not have underground. We don't have the metro. We have tram and buses and trains. That's how I get from London to Edinburgh by train. It's a 4-hour journey. But again, Edinburgh is Scotland's capital, so it's not for free. However, Edinburgh is a very small city, very little city, and you can cross the whole thing in 3 hours by foot. So I don't need to pay for public transport at all, because I can walk everywhere. I live 11 minutes from my campus, and I live 15 minutes from the main library, and about 30-minute walk from the city centre. So I don't need to use the transport. There is also, I think, something nice to mention alongside the reflections that people can have with this information, is that if you do struggle financially and you require public transport, it is a necessity of yours to get to your school or university, the government will pay for it. They are very good at assisting people. And it's nice, I think it's a more equitable practice, because it means who can afford for it pays for it, and who can't gets the help. And this is something really nice.
Okay, pretty good. Well, I haven't known about any attack in universities in London, thanks God. But for example, we had the attack at London Bridge, right? How is the security around the universities there? Are there guards? Are there public guards or not?
No.
No?
I think the UK takes responsibility, if anything, for instigating those attacks. Those attacks wouldn't happen if the UK isn't attacking other countries. So I think ever since things have, I mean, at least in mainstream media, seems to have come down in terms of those political relations, we have had less coverage and less worry about it. Once it's not so much on the newspaper, we sort of forget it's happening or it exists. And so, especially in Edinburgh, everything is very open, and they are not in constant worry or precaution. I am aware, though, that the security system is great and is very discreet as well. So there might not be securities, personal and present security guards, but there are protection systems such as cameras everywhere and recorded videotapes of such. So as I said, I've never had to worry about it. I walk freely both in London, both in Edinburgh, but I do know that there is a possibility that all my steps are somewhat traced, or they have an idea where everybody is for safety.
Okay. Now I'd like to share with you two interesting things that were news last week about an 11 years girl with autism. I don't know if you knew about it,
No.
but an 11 years old girl with autism that made a lot of pictures, and there was a very big exposition in London. Have you ever know about it?
Haven't heard
That's
about
amazing.
it. That's incredible to hear, and I'm very glad that
I knew about it because I have a nephew who has autism, so I'm always reading things like that. And the other news, it's about an arts gallery here in Brazil that made a different way to exposition. It was drive-through way because of COVID. And one of the artists is my friend. His name is Eduardo Cardoso, and it was a news at the New York Times, and I'm so proud of him.
That's amazing.
So nice.
That sounds incredible.
Yes, that's a great idea because they didn't stop.
Yeah, very innovative.
Yes, that's very innovative.
Hugely innovative.
Well, I don't know about the time, guys. I'm not with the clock.
Yes, we're about to finish. Like we have more some time, like 7 minutes. If you guys have any question, you can ask them in Portuguese, if you will, if it's easier for you. Não sei se vocês entenderam, mas se vocês...
Acho que fala em português para eles, senão eles não entendem.
Here.
Se vocês tiverem alguma pergunta, gente, podem perguntar e a gente vai traduzindo para vocês. O que vocês querem saber sobre a experiência da Júlia?
Or we could give a message for the fathers because tomorrow is Father's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Very good idea too.
Dun, 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 dun.
Anybody? I don't bite.
Guys, I like this very much. I look at these. My glasses.
Fabi, there's a lot of questions. Always.
Always. I have a lot of questions, and I have something else. Look at my water. I do everything special for you because I love teenagers. I love teacher.
Okay.
I love to ask. I love new culture. I love it to say about the Islamics that they learn. They pray 5 times a day. It's wonderful. Well, everything is wonderful, and I think we can help Brazil to be better and better, comparing and maybe doing the same.
I agree.
Did you like it, Julia? Did you like to hear?
I have a question for Julia. Julia, what do you think it's important for a person to be a good photographer?
Oh, that's a good question. That's very. I would say the most important thing is to not let your idea of something determine how you feel about your work. Flexibility, it's essential because sometimes I sketch my shoots, I have everything ready, I have an idea, it's going to look a certain way. I spend a whole day, hours editing, and it doesn't come out as near as I wanted it. It was something completely opposite. Sometimes it's quite ugly and I don't like it. And that it's bad for us to judge ourselves. So I think having flexibility and be accepting that your outcome might be different than what you think it will is the most helpful thing for me, at least. And now I accept all my bodies of work, even if I personally like them or not. I appreciate just the creation generally.
Okay. Can you share with us your Instagram to see your pictures, your job?
Of course. Well, you are motivating me to create one. I don't have an Instagram yet.
Okay.
But you have motivated. I am very attached to my work. I'll tell you that. I'm so fearful of criticism. This is something really important for everybody who wants to be an artist as well. There's a lot of work in deconstructing how we feel towards our own art. And so I will create one and I'll send it to you guys as soon as it's done and as soon as I post. I have been meaning to do this for so long, but I never did it. I would start the creation, I'd be like, no. And then I'll start again and then leave it aside.
Okay.
So today, this is a day.
Yeah.
Maybe today
I love
the push day.
Pictures. Oh.
Today's the push day, indeed.
Julia,
I
I
love
like
to
to
see-
write. I like to write in English and in Portuguese. If you have some art that you'd like to share with me, maybe I can write a text about it.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Like,
I would love to collaborate. That sounds lovely.
I love art because I am a musician.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I play flute. I love it, the art, the dance, the theater.
Yeah, me too. It's so important. I think is the most pure way of expression.
Yeah.
And you notice in society when people are distanced from appreciating art. And even if you are going to view art as the Netflix series you watch, or the advertisements that come on your screen. The people that are distanced from the idea and the appreciation of art, they often seem very sad and seem very cold. And the more art you have in your life, no matter in what form, no specific ways of doing it, but the more art, the more free you are. So I'm a big advocate of that. And I'm happy you do that too. That's awesome.
Telling about art and music and songs, things like that. Congratulations, Joanna, because you are the first one to sing today. And guys, you have to sing there in the group. In the past, it was very funny, very cheerful. I don't know what happened. Please sing. We can't go any nightclub. We can't go anyway. So let's have fun in the group.
Yeah, let's bring nightclubs to Zoom.
So, Julia, for us to finish our call, Fabi just mentioned that tomorrow is Father's Day. I don't know if you have a message or you want to say anything about it.
Well, I just want to express a gratitude for my father and for all the father figures out there. May not be biological fathers, may not be registered fathers, or people that are fathers but act as one. And I think the world is definitely a better place with all the support and affection and love that I get from my male figures in my life. And so I want to thank every single one of them on earth for bringing us up and taking care of us and protecting us in times that are very uncertain and dangerous too. So huge gratitude and happy Father's Day to every single dad out there.
Okay, Julia, it's a pleasure have you here with us.
Yeah.
I hope to see you more about your job, about your work, because I think it's art, it's everything.
I'm beyond grateful. Thank you so much for hosting this space and letting me speak. I love speaking, so it worked out.
So, Julia, it is your first time here. You aren't going to escape. You're going to be here again.
Of course.
Definitely.
100%. You can count me in.
So guys, thank you so much. We are finishing now. I don't know if you have any more questions, but just a heads up, the International Youth Day events are still going to happen. So stay tuned in our social media, in our WhatsApp groups as well to participate. Tomorrow we are not going to have events, but in the next week we're going to have a lot of events talking about youth and leadership. So participate and subscribe, and that's it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Nice to meet you all. Bye-bye. Thank you.